Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have another diagnostics video. This is a computer that is being sent to me by a shop here in Virginia. They've been having issues with it's a 2008 Mitsubishi Raider. This is almost a Dodge rename or badge as a Mitsubishi because all the modules and everything is like a Dodge vehicle. It's a 2008 Rider, like I said, and they have problems with no crank condition on the vehicle. They have sent multiple other modules trying to, diagnose it, and they still have the problem. So I have the engine computer. The condition that they have again is no crank condition. So let's see what we can do with the computer. All right, so as you see, I have it here on the bench already connected. Let me move it over to the next capture. So just to explain you what I have here connected is powers and grounds and communication, and I have substituted value true resistors over for the coolant temperature sensor to make sure that we can establish communication and the scanner is reading properly. And I have, instead of the start with relay, I have a test light so you can see from the distance and myself if the computer is activating that or not, because that's the concern, no crank condition, right? All right, so I have made a full folder for them. Let me get that in here. And this is all the information I have tested: the centric key module, the TIPM, it's just like the fuse box, and they're all part of the equation, but they are missing one component, and I'm going to explain that on the video as well, which is the front control module. So let me just read this in here. I'm going to put this photo. So this is, as you see, based on the VIN number of the vehicle. It says engine will not crank over. Battery is good. Starter will engage if it's jumper. Check the fault codes in the powertrain control module, wireless control module, which is the same centric key. They name it WCM or centric key, which we'll see that in another information that I have here. In the front control module, all three of these systems are involved to get the starter to operate. Very important. So I don't know exactly where they are because they've been sending me, just pieces of the puzzles to do some tests. It says disconnecting the battery. The WCM is prone to locking up, and this can cause a no crank condition. So the technician in here, or the tip, this is coming from Identifits, says is try to remove the battery cables and touching it together. That will probably reset the wireless control module, again the centric key, which is prone to lock. Replace the WCM if it did not communicate, and rebooting the system allow the engine to crank over. We're going to go over the diagrams and see where the communication goes from the wireless control module over to the scanner or other modules in the vehicle as well. So this is one of the pieces that I have here. I have just a little bit of information on the front control module removal. And this is the way the module looks. It's a very small module. It says, let me just see, replace, remove the integrated power module from the engine compartment, remove the 4 fasteners securing the front control module to the power distribution center PDC. Separate the FCM from the PDC by pulling the 2 straight away from each other and disengage electrical connector. So this module is actually connected into the fuse box that they sent me first. I don't know why they removed it and they didn't send it together, because that would have been a lot easier for me to test. But yeah, so this module is also super important. If you're watching this video, the shop, you need to test this as well. So I have gathered, as I normally do, wire diagrams for all the connections and everything. I have also made very easy to read paper, right? As far as how this computer is, it's a 4 connector. They're all 38 pins, and they have one. It has like a black color or natural color. Well, no, black, I will say. And it's funny how Dodge has named a white connector because it has a white sticker on it, and they're all painted, and they call that natural. I put them in there as white. So C1 will be the first connector. There is all black. C2 will be orange, C3 is the white connector, and then C4 is the green connector. I just put that in there so I can remember. Powers, they're in constant battery power is in connector 1 and spin 10 and 29. All right, so constant battery powers in connector 1, pins 10 and 29, they're all interconnected, or those two are interconnected on the connector, so I just use one for my test in the bench. Ignition is in connector 1, pin 11. Then we have terminal 87. Those goes through the ASD relay output. As you turn the ignition relay closes and then send power to those two pins. And they're actually 3 pins, and they're all interconnected, so I using one. And there is one pin in connector 1 and pin 38, and then 2 more in connector 3, pins 19 and 28. That's what I circled it together and put as the same. Grounds, 2 grounds in connector 1, 9 and 19 and 18, sorry, and they're interconnected. Communication in this module is through CAN bus. CAN high is in C134 and CAN low is in C135. This goes to the front control module, and I'm going to show you that in the diagram in a second. The starter relay is controlled by the PCM on connector C3 pin 38, and it's a ground side control. Again, I'm going to show you that in a second in the wire diagrams. And as explained before, I have the coolant temperature sensor, which is engine coolant temperature, ECT, connector 2 pin 20. All right, so those are briefly all the connections, and we can see that in here. So this is exactly as I was showing you there, because I always, try to gather the information quickly, but I want to show you the diagrams. So these two right here, 10 and 29, are ignitions. Again, we have fuse ignition. Yeah, these are the powers, 10 and 29, battery positive. C111 is ignition. C3, no, I don't care about that one. There is another one, C130, but this is actually an output. It's not an input, it's an output. When the ignition is turned on and the starter relay is engaged, only will happen when it's in a run condition. And this is the starter relay. So the starter relay, as we see here, is C338 and goes over to the starter relay. The other side is power, so that has to be a ground. The next one is the diagram with all the, let me just see what I have here. The CAN bus communication happens, so we can see C1, 34, and 35. And this goes in through, it also interconnects to the ABS and splices into the front control module. And this will then go out to the DLC, which I have in the next picture or diagram. So right here we have, let me just make sure I'm saying this right. What do I have here? Module power control. Oh no, this is actually for the coolant temperature sensor. So not there in the communication. So this is just to show you the engine coolant temperature is in C220. Next one is, this is the communication diagram. So this is the one I was going to show you. So in here we have the ABS. We have the airbag control module. They're all going connected together, and we can see at the bottom, if I scroll a little down, the power control module. They all will connect each other because it's a CAN bus network into the front control module. And they enter the front control modules in connector C1 pins 8 and 9, and they will go over to the DLC and this one that I have right now here. So in here we can see how the front control module will go out to the DLC pin 6 and 14, again the CAN bus network on the OVD port where you connect the scanner, and they are coming out in a separate pin, so C16 and C15. What I did in this case, since I don't have the front control module, I just connected directly those to the DLC, and I'm connected the PCM into 6 and 14, and I'm bypassing the front control module. In the car, that's not going to be the case. There is another communication, and I want you to see this because if we read down here, it says CAN C. CAN C. This is the one for the powertrain control module and major players. There is another bus of communication, and this is where the Sentry key is connected. I don't know why it didn't work on that one. Okay, I just want to make this so you can see what I am. So this is just the negative side of the bus, but it's good enough to show you that we had the module control, module Sentry key entry WCM. Again, that's the WCM, and it's CAN B, not CAN C. these will go connected over to DLC, the data link connector, that the DLC, onto pin 11, not any 6 or 14. And the only way that this bus talks to the computers, right? Because the key has to be connected to the to the front control module and into the computer. And why is that? Well, it's because the front control module is a gateway. You see right here, the front control module on the top has the CAN-B, and it's in completely different pin. So it's a different completely transceiver. The front control module will take this information and it will transfer it over to the other bus when it's required. And then that's how the car will be engaging the starter, because, well, the centric key is on CAN-B, the powertrain is in CAN-C, two completely different buses. So we need to see if this bus is good or if this module is any good. The next one, let me see what I have here. Well, this just, I showed you already this before, where the front control module is located. So yeah, this is just, I'm trying to share as much as information as possible so they can understand how this system works. And then you also yourself, in case you are working in a vehicle like this. I have the Phoenix Max connected and ready to go. Well, I will establish communication. I actually have to power on. So let me put the power at least to the BCI, so you can see the BCI now is off. But I'm using the Phoenix Max Snap-on. It will ID the vehicle as far as VIN number, but it will not. It says no communication. If I enter the vehicle as a Dodge, it talks to it like it's a Dodge, but it's a Mitsubishi. It reads the VIN and everything, and it says no connection to the module. So very misleading, very bad from a Snap-on, because a 2008 vehicle, you cannot give me the correct information on the SUS Plus, which is the flagship scanner of a Snap-on. It's like, I don't know, $14,000. It cannot connect to a vehicle from 2008. Lame. That is lame. That's what I'm telling people. Don't buy a Snap-on unless you need to get because a Snap-on has good things, and that's what I have it, as far as, graphs in different colors, and it has the troubleshooter section and guided component test for new technicians. But don't buy a new one. Buy a used scanner. Don't pay the full price. Let somebody else pay for the price. As a business myself, it's a write-off in taxes. I can do that. But a technician that is working a day by day just to, get a salary, don't do that, because you will not be able to write that off. Buy yourself a used one. Or if you're looking for a good tool, buy the Phoenix Max. It's an excellent tool. And it has worked in many diesel trucks and on all these vehicles that not even the Autel does. Autel is good. It's actually now hold back a lot by a Snap-on, because they put a lawsuit because of information that were being released that they should not have released, and they really locked up a lot of information that was there before. Phoenix Max is not. Phoenix Max is completely good. It does have, it's always not a perfect tool, but I will say, maybe I'm missing one thing on one, but no connection to a car, forget about it. That is not just like not the perfect tool. That is not a good tool. All right, so let's go over to put the Phoenix Max on the screen for you guys. I have I'm going to put the ignition on. And you're going to see that when I put the ignition on, nothing happens. There is no starter relay. Obviously, it's not, because the starter should not engage when you put the ignition on. I don't have the front control module, and I don't have the central key, which it should have been here if I need to test all this, because otherwise, again, I'm just checking part of the puzzles, not the entire component system. But I am able to perform an actuation test only with the Phoenix Max to engage the starter. All right, so we're going to go into auto scan, and we're going to read the VIN number. You're going to see that, well, if the update rate shows. So right now, it looks like you are, well, finally updated a little bit. A little bit of a lag time in between that and here. All right, so it looks like it did read it. So you can see 588480. This is more for the customer than for you, but you can see what it says, Mitsubishi Raider LS 2008. So we're going to go into quick access. And this is going to populate the topology. Well, first it's going to ask me for a selection after 2005 or as 2006. Well, it's a 2008. So as 2006, it's a North of America, USA. And we're going to scroll down to go over for the Raider. Now we're in the topology. That's why it's called when you see this kind of like a diagram of connections, because that's how they are in the vehicle. So we're going to go over to the engine computer, which should be, let me just see, MPI. If you want to see what that means, you can select in the tab down on the tab where it says system topology. You can also do system list, and you can read what those are. It looks like they didn't put much in here. There's almost the same number, the same name. You see MPI, GDI, diesel. So, but we can select it in either one. So I'm going to enter here and then enter. All right, now we are there. We're going to read fault codes. Okay, so just to see, okay, well, we do have communication. We can see that we have communication. It says the lost communication with the body control module. It's a lot of U faults, lost communication with the ambient temperature, fuel pump circuit, AC clutch, power relay, pressure message. Nothing on the anti-theft system. But I want to also show you before I go into the test, like if I enter the data stream, and this is where the technician on that shop needs to go a little bit into connecting a scanner and reading more. So let me make this a little bigger so you guys can see it from the distance more. So I'm going to scroll down all the way to the bottom, because if I would have everything in here, so we have a scheme. This is the anti-theft part. A scheme BTA invalid receive fault posted. Let's see if we have any other vehicle theft state. So these three are very important. So if I click OK, well, we see what it's saying in there. A scheme has completed, false. A scheme BTA invalid key received fault posted, false. Vehicle theft state not available. Why? Because it's not connected. Right? So this is where you need to see as a technician. Is the computer reading the key? Well, if this is still showing with everything connected in the car, then you have a problem in communication, because I tested the module here. It's just, where the key antenna and all that stuff, that's a scheme or WCM. You need to see if the front control module is actually talking in both buses, or if that bus is down, because again, if we go back to that bus B, there is multiple other modules connected to. I'm just going to tell you because I have it on my screen right now. So we have the radio, the cluster, the AC control heater, the module electronic overhead, and the mirror inside rear view. All those modules are part of the network. If one of those modules is shorted, it's going to short that network, so the module centric key cannot send a message. Why? Because that communication bus is shorted. So we need to see, do we have communication? Well, we need to isolate. So we will remove the connector from the front control module where this COM bus B is located, and it says connector 1, and with the front control module disconnected, that pin, I'm not removing the power to those modules. All I'm removing is the communication from the control module to those other modules in the network. But communication has to stay there. Well, if I unplug it and I have no communication on the plug, well, that means that, what I would do myself is I will also touch that same pin 3 and see if with that unplug, I get communication. I plug it back in and there's no communication. Well, then I have a short into that wire somewhere. One of those modules is taking down the network, and that's how I will diagnose. I will start with a central way. Either one is easier for me to test. I can test it on the data link connectors and pin 3 and 11 and see what the bus is doing in there, and then I start removing one at a time to see if I get the communication back. So there's multiple ways to attack this problem, but we need to find out what are we missing first. Because, taking modules out and then just send it for testing. Yes, I can test it out, but it's not really giving you an answer. All I'm doing in here is good or bad? Yes, but do we have a problem with the wiring or not? This is a little bit difficult to work that way. All right, let's go back into the test now. All right, so now we know that we have those pits the technician can use in the vehicle. I'm going now in here and I'm going to actuation test. Again, this is very specific only to top down. And I'm going to go into actuate all outputs. And I want you to see that test light when I click on. It's going to cycle it on and off, obviously, because the starter relay is in here. So what I would recommend in the vehicle is to unplug the relay and put a test light and do this test. Is it anything bad? Is this computer able to actuate the starter relay? Do I have to answer that? I don't think so, right? You can see it, and that's why I put a test light. Of course it can. So is anything wrong with the computer as far as being able to actuate the starter? No, definitely not. All right, so guys, this is just a diagnosis video trying to help these customers. Let me turn this off so I can exit this. I should have exited out, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just trying to help them out because, I know how frustrating it could be when you have a car that is sitting for a long time and you cannot even resolve what the problem is. But yes, they can, again, parse out. It's not really a diagnosis. You need to understand what are you missing. Yes, I understand that they know the car is not cranking. Well, we need to find out why it's not cranking. We need to find out, we have a communication issue. Are we missing a signal? At least now they know some areas are good. I'm trying to show how to do the actuation. Hopefully they get a top down. Otherwise, they're going to have to get one. And as a shop, if you're servicing multi-brand vehicles, you need to buy a lot of tools. It's the only way you can do it. All right, guys, thank you so much for visiting the channel. Hopefully it's not such a long video. I'm trying just to help out anyone that has this kind of situation to understand the theory of operation and the description of how the system works and what kind of tests can you do in the vehicle. Because with the vehicle, now you can read those data pits. You can read and see if the actuation happens. Because if the actuation happens and you still have no cranking, well, then you know the PCM is not the issue. Let's go into communication. Can I talk to the eccentric key? Can I talk to any of those other modules and read full codes into the CAN B? Otherwise, it might be the front control module. The one has a network down. And then I need to use an oscilloscope to check the activity of that network. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.